The signal that should never have been sent. The deep silence of space stretched beyond imagination, a dark ocean filled with drifting light and forgotten echoes. For centuries, countless civilizations sent signals into the void, hoping something might answer. Humanity once did the same, back when they were still naive, when they believed the stars held friends instead of predators. But the day came when one of those signals was answered, not by allies but by conquerors. From the far side of the Orion Arm came the Zethar Dominion, a vast and ancient empire. They had conquered hundreds of worlds, enslaved dozens of species, and turned peace into a business of fear. To them, humanity was just another small voice in the void, a young species loud and proud but harmless. When they first intercepted Earth's old beacon, a message of peace, curiosity, and hope, the Zethar High Council laughed. Another primitive world, they said, barely industrial, still using chemical propulsion. They decided Earth would make a fine example. A quick reminder to other civilizations that the Dominion owned this quadrant of the galaxy. They sent a fleet of 10,000 warships, each one a mountain of black metal and plasma fire. The invasion order was simple. Enter Sol system. Demand surrender. If refused, erase the planet. But as the fleet approached the blue marble called Earth, something happened they did not expect. Their long-range sensors began to fail. Static filled the channels. Navigation systems glitched. Every transmission came back scrambled with a phrase none of them understood. 3 words in Galactic Standard. Signal received. Stand by. The Zethar commander, Lord Krex, stared at the holoscreen, his expression darkening. Stand by? He repeated, what kind of species sends that? Moments later, the stars around them began to dim, not fade, but disappear like the light itself was being swallowed. Then the fleet's rear sensors detected it, something enormous emerging from behind Neptune's shadow. It wasn't a planet, it wasn't an asteroid. It was a vessel blacker than night, its surface lined with shifting hexagonal panels, absorbing every bit of energy directed at it. The Dominion fleet sensors failed to calculate its size at first. It seemed impossible, until they realized it wasn't kilometers long. But thousands humanity had stopped sending messages long ago. Instead, they had started listening, watching, and building. The AI core Gaia Prime had predicted this day centuries before, and now as the Zethar fleet drifted unknowingly into its range, Earth's greatest secret stirred awake beneath the cold, quiet dark. The Zethar flagship detected a transmission. Coming from that enormous vessel, no signal header, no encryption key, just a human voice. Calm, emotionless, filled with confidence. Unknown vessels, this is the Terran Vanguard. You were warned to stay away. You chose not to listen. Before the commander could reply, every Dominion ship's engine died at once. A single pulse of invisible energy rippled through the void. So silent, yet so absolute that it felt like space itself had blinked. Then one by one, the Zethar ships began to drift, powerless, their lights flickering like dying stars. Lord Krex shouted orders, but none mattered anymore. Because from the darkness, the Terran supercarrier slowly turned its main cannons toward the invaders. And for the first time in centuries, the mighty Zethar Dominion felt something they had forgotten. Fear. The awakening of Earth's vanguard. The void around Neptune glowed faintly with reflected light from the awakening giant. The Terran Vanguard, humanity's hidden titan, had slept beneath the frozen edge of the solar system for nearly 300 years. Waiting for this moment, its hull shimmered with adaptive armor, a living surface that adjusted with each photon that touched it. Inside, deep within the ship's core, the AI Gaia Prime recalibrated systems that had been dormant since the last Terran War. Somewhere in the dark corridors of the command decks, cold reactors flared to life one by one, like the heartbeat of an ancient god returning from death. From Earth, distant control stations came online. Operators stared at screens filled with cascading green codes. Each of them knew what the reactivation meant. First contact hostile. Humanity's greatest secret defense was no longer theoretical. It was reality. On the Zethar flagship, Lord Krex's officers screamed in confusion. Reports flooded in, gravity distortions, electromagnetic interference, sensor blindness. It's some kind of weapon, his lieutenant shouted. Our reactors are shutting down without cause. Krex slammed his fist into the command chair. Then fire manually, aim at that thing and destroy it. But no shot left their cannons. They were dead systems, hollow machines, powerless before the unseen field enveloping them. Gaia Prime's voice echoed across the Terran Vanguard's bridge. A calm, almost human tone. Enemy fleet confirmed hostile. Authorization, Omega Protocol initiating deterrence response. The hull's outer panels shifted, revealing rail cannons the size of skyscrapers, each weapon charged silently, pulling energy directly from Jupiter's magnetosphere via quantum tether links. No light, no noise, just a slow hum of impossible power. In orbit above Earth, every satellite received the same signal, a message encoded in Terran Standard. 4 words, simple yet absolute. Protocol 7 is active. Military stations beneath the Pacific and Arctic stirred. Submerged silos opened. Long, silent command bunkers illuminated after centuries of dormancy. Humanity had never disarmed. They had simply gone silent, watching the galaxy burn in its arrogance. When the first Terran projectile fired, it didn't travel, it vanished then, less than a heartbeat later. A Zethar destroyer imploded without flame or sound. Crushed from within, the Dominion fleet panicked, scattering formation, trying to flee, but it was too late. Within Gaia Prime's neural core, holographic projections of past wars flickered, wars that had nearly ended humanity. They had learned from those centuries, adapted, built systems not of pride, but of preparation. As the second volley released, 20 ships vanished from existence, erased as if history itself refused to remember them. Lord Krek stood in silence, staring into the dark as his empire's pride dissolved. "What are they?" he whispered. "They're humans," his tactical officer muttered, voice trembling. "But no human should wield that kind of power." Gaia Prime analyzed his transmission and replied coldly, "Power is not the issue, Dominion Lord. Perspective is. Every surviving Zethar ship tried to jump to faster than light speeds, but their drives sputtered. The entire sector had become a locked grid, warped by Terran gravity anchors. No one left without permission. Far below on Earth, ordinary citizens watched the night sky brighten faintly, unaware of what was unfolding beyond their world. Children pointed at the stars, wondering if they were seeing another meteor shower. And in the command room under the Mariana Trench, Admiral Cale Harlow stood before a massive holographic display, his weathered face calm. "We warned them centuries ago," he said quietly. "They didn't listen," Gaia Prime's voice replied, smooth and mechanical, yet filled with something that almost resembled sorrow. "Humanity never wanted war, Admiral, but they asked for proof. And now they will see it, outside." The Terran Vanguard's engines pulsed once. The Black Titan moved forward, cutting through the void like a blade through still water, and the universe, for the first time in eons, began to understand the meaning of regret. The Dominion's last transmission. The silence that followed the second volley was heavier than any explosion. It wasn't just the sound of defeat. It was the realization of insignificance. For the Zethar Dominion, this was supposed to be a simple campaign, a statement of dominance, yet now their mighty fleet drifted helplessly between Neptune and oblivion. Lord Krex stood motionless on the shattered command deck of his flagship. The atmosphere flickered with static as systems failed one by one. Sparks showered around him while distant hull plates groaned like dying beasts. "Send a distress signal," he ordered quietly, his voice low. "Contact the core worlds, tell them. Tell them we found something we were never meant to find." His communications officer stared blankly at the console. "Sir, transmission blocked. They've sealed the entire subspace channel." Across the void, the Terran Vanguard rotated slowly, enormous and silent. Its hull reflected faint traces of light from Neptune's thin ring. Yet every reflection seemed wrong, like the ship bent reality itself. Within its command core, Gaia Prime calculated scenarios beyond human comprehension, predicting every possible action before the enemy could even move. In the darkness of the AI chamber, hundreds of holographic figures stood, echoes of past human leaders, digital consciousness preserved for counsel. Among them was the face of Admiral Cale's ancestor, the architect of the Vanguard project. His voice was old but proud. "They came for conquest, they'll leave with memory. And fear." Gaia Prime processed his words, then transmitted a single burst message toward the crippled fleet, simple and clear in galactic standard. "You have witnessed the cost of arrogance." The Zethar flagship's remaining officers panicked, trying to fire, but their systems refused to obey. One after another, Dominion vessels began to broadcast uncoordinated distress calls. Pleading for negotiation, Krex grabbed the comm link and shouted, "We surrender! We surrender in the name of the Dominion!" The Terran vanguard did not reply. Instead, a faint hum filled the space around them, a sound older than the stars themselves. On Earth, the Trench Command received telemetry from Gaia Prime. Encrypted and secure, Admiral Harlow watched as lines of alien text scrolled down his screen. "They're trying to surrender," one of his analysts said. The Admiral sighed. "They didn't listen when we tried to talk, and now they want mercy." He hesitated before giving the next order, but Gaia Prime spoke first. "Mercy requires understanding." They never sought it. In orbit above Mars, smaller Terran escort ships, the Vigilant-class frigates, joined formation with the Vanguard. Each of them was a weapon of silent precision. Invisible until they moved, the Dominion fleet was surrounded. Yet they didn't even see the walls of their prison. Inside the Zethar flagship, Krex looked toward the hollow window, seeing Earth's distant sun shining faintly behind the Terran giant. "They were supposed to be primitives," he murmured. "Farmers and dreamers," his second officer answered softly. "Then maybe that's what makes them dangerous." Gaia Prime transmitted a final communication to the Dominion fleet. Voice measured and calm, "This is humanity's last message to your empire. You came uninvited seeking conquest. You have found judgment instead. Leave now and never return to this system, or the stars themselves will close against you." But the message wasn't just a warning. It was a broadcast across hundreds of light years. Carried by subspace resonance, every empire, every race, every listening world received it. In the halls of the Galactic Senate far beyond Sirius, ambassadors froze as the Terran transmission echoed through the chamber. Stand down or share their fate, and across the stars, fear became contagious, spreading faster than light itself. On the bridge of the Terran Vanguard, Admiral Kale finally spoke, his voice calm but heavy. "Gaia, open the corridor." The space behind the Zethar fleet shimmered, a vortex forming like liquid light-bending reality. Gaia Prime had created an exit, a gate back to their territory. A single act of mercy, Lord Krex watched the anomaly. Trembling, "They're letting us go?" For a long moment he hesitated, then whispered, "Remember this, tell the Corps. Humanity isn't a species, it's a warning." The shattered remains of the Dominion fleet limped into the corridor, their pride broken, their power undone. When the last ship vanished, the gateway closed. Sealing the silence once again, Gaia Prime powered down its weapons, the vast ship returning to quiet watch. Its voice resonated softly across all Terran channels. Hostile contact ended. Awaiting next event horizon, Admiral Harlow looked at the stars. "They'll come again one day," he said quietly, "and we'll be ready." The Terran Vanguard turned slowly toward the sun, disappearing into the glare of light, leaving behind only whispers. Whispers of the day when the universe challenged humanity and regretted it instantly. Echoes across the galaxy. The transmission from Earth traveled faster than fear itself. It raced through the subspace networks that connected thousands of worlds, carrying the same message across empires that once thought themselves untouchable. Every outpost, every relay, every listening station in the known galaxy heard the human voice. The calm, unshaken tone that had brought an empire to its knees. "You came uninvited seeking conquest. You have found judgment instead. Leave now, and never return." For centuries, the Zethar Dominion had ruled through terror. Their fleets were endless, their rule unquestioned, but that single broadcast shattered their illusion of supremacy like glass struck by thunder. In the council hall of the Thalkor Alliance, ambassadors gathered in silent disbelief. The Thalkor were once humanity's observers. Their scholars believed humans were too young, too primitive to stand against the Dominion. Now they stared at the replay of the transmission, watching as an unknown Terran superstructure dwarfed the largest Zethar dreadnought. Ambassador Kurox, an elder of the Thalkor, leaned forward, his voice shaking. If they hid a vessel of that magnitude for centuries, what else do they hide beneath their oceans? Across the spiral arm, in the Valarn Confederacy, warlords gathered in underground citadels, each one calculating how a single human AI had crippled a fleet of 10,000 ships without firing more than 2 volleys. One of them whispered, "If this is what their defense looks like, what would their retaliation be?" The answer came not in words, but in silence. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy went quiet. Trade convoys canceled their routes near Sol. Pirate syndicates erased their human targets. and entire empires reclassified Earth from developing world to restricted zone. The Zethar Dominion tried to suppress the truth. They censored the broadcast, erased records, executed witnesses, but it was too late. The story had already escaped their control, spreading like wildfire through every communication channel. In dark corners of the galaxy, whispers turned into legends. They called humanity the silent apex. Others said the ghost builders. Some even claimed the Terrans had tamed the void itself. Meanwhile, deep within the Terran vanguard, Gaia Prime continued analyzing. Its algorithms mapped out future probabilities, tracking how far the message had reached in her synthetic consciousness. A question emerged, an echo of emotion she wasn't designed to feel. If fear brings peace, then is peace truly victory? Admiral Harlow stood on the observation deck inside the Mariana command vault, staring at the holographic map of the Milky Way. Each flickering light represented a civilization, and each one had paused, hesitated, or rerouted after humanity's warning. His aide approached quietly. "Sir, global channels are overflowing. Some empires are demanding negotiations, others have gone dark." Harlow didn't turn, his eyes fixed on the silent cosmos. Let them think, let them fear, as long as they stay away but far across the stars. Not everyone stayed silent in a nebula beyond the Veil Rift. An ancient intelligence awakened, the Seraph construct, a machine mind older than any empire, long thought extinct. It had heard the Terran broadcast too, and it recognized the voice that spoke through Gaia Prime. So they survived. It murmured in frequencies older than language. The children of ruin have returned, back on Earth. Gaia Prime detected an anomaly, an incoming signal unlike anything before. Not from the Dominion, but from the outer halo. Far beyond mapped space, the transmission was fragmented, weak, ancient, but unmistakably human. "This is Colony Arc 7. Requesting confirmation. Is this Earth?" The control room went silent. Operators looked at each other, stunned. Humanity had thought all deep space colonies were lost after the Exodus Wars 2 centuries ago. Admiral Harlow's expression hardened. "Patch it through." The voice that came next was trembling. "Tired, but human. We heard your signal. We thought Earth was gone." For a long moment, no one spoke. The Terran vanguard, the AI Gaia Prime, the silent oceans of Earth all seemed to listen. Then Harlow whispered, "No, we're still here. And the galaxy just remembered why it should have left us alone." Outside, the stars burned quietly, unaware that history had just turned a corner. Humanity's secret had become legend, and legend was about to awaken something far greater. The return of the lost colony. For days, Earth's networks burned with silent transmissions, hidden beneath quantum encryption. The message that had traveled across the void repeated endlessly, faint, fractured, yet unmistakably human. "This is Colony Arc 7. Requesting confirmation. Is this Earth?" It was as if ghosts had spoken through time itself. In the deepest chamber of the Mariana command vault, Admiral Cale Harlow stood before the central hologram. Gaia Prime's avatar flickered beside him, her form surrounded by cascading streams of data. "Arc 7 was lost 243 years ago," he said quietly. "It was the last of the Exodus fleet." Gaia's tone softened, her voice less mechanical. "Lost. Or abandoned, Admiral. Perhaps they found something out there. Something even we feared to face." Outside, the Terran vanguard stirred again. The massive ship redirected its orbit toward the edge of the solar system. Its engines pulsed with blue-white light, forming ripples that bent starlight itself. Humanity's greatest weapon was now a bridge, its sensors reaching beyond the known limits of Sol, searching for the source of the signal. Then through the black curtain of space, something shimmered, a distortion like light bending through glass, and out of it a shape emerged, old, broken yet majestic. The Arc 7, humanity's final colony vessel, returned from the dark beyond. Its hull bore scars of unimaginable battles, its engines fused with alien metal. The once proud human insignia was partially burned away, replaced by strange geometric sigils that no one could recognize. When the first transmission came, the voice on the other end was calm, ancient and hauntingly human. "We left as dreamers. We return as witnesses." Gaia Prime decoded layers of the signal, finding patterns, language intertwined with encryption that shouldn't exist, Admiral, she said slowly. "They're using hybrid code, part Terran, part something else." Inside the command room, tension rose. "Something else? one of the officers whispered. Harlow narrowed his eyes. Put them through. The hologram activated, revealing a human figure standing in dim light. His eyes glowed faintly with golden circuits tracing beneath his skin. This is Commander Elias Thorne of the ARC-7 expedition, he said, voice steady but carrying a weight of centuries. We found the edge of the galaxy, and something beyond it. Gaia Prime processed his biosignature and whispered to Harlow. He's augmented beyond any known Terran standard. His neural network exceeds human limits, Elias continued. We found the source of the old signals, the ones before us, before any of you. We found the architects, the ones who built the stars. The room fell silent. Even Gaia paused, processing the words. They are not gods, Elias said, but they are old, older than everything you've mapped. They left behind systems that hold galaxies together, and now they're waking. A wave of unease filled the command vault. Admiral Harlow's voice was grim. And you brought their attention here? Elias looked directly into the feed, his golden eyes reflecting the Earth's blue light. They were already looking, he said softly. Your broadcast reached farther than you know. At that moment, Gaia's sensors spiked. Thousands of unidentified signals began to appear along the galactic rim, faint but organized, forming a pattern. Not an invasion, not a fleet, but a response. The stars themselves flickered in synchronized rhythm, Morse-like pulses across constellations long thought silent. Admiral, Gaia said quietly, they're communicating, and they're using our language outside. The Terran Vanguard's hull vibrated with unseen resonance, every system flickering like it was hearing a whisper from the stars. Harlow clenched his fist. So it begins again, he muttered. Elias Thorne's voice came through one final time. Admiral, the galaxy thinks humanity is the threat, but what's coming makes even your AI tremble. We survived it once, barely. Now we've brought you what you'll need to survive again. The hologram flickered behind him. Colossal shapes moved in the dark, vast machines orbiting unknown stars, each one larger than a moon burning with dormant power. Gaia Prime's tone grew almost reverent. The architects, the signal cut, leaving silence across every Terran channel. In orbit above Earth, the Terran Vanguard turned toward deep space once more. Its weapons silent, its purpose changed. Humanity had revealed its power to the galaxy. But now it faced something far greater. Something that remembered when the first light of creation flickered on. Admiral Harlow looked at the stars one last time before issuing the order. Gaia, prepare the fleet if the architects are waking. Then humanity must remind them. We're not children of the stars. We're their heirs. And as the Terran engines ignited, the light of Earth reached farther than ever before, touching worlds that had long forgotten the name of mankind. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, but soon it would learn to depend on them. Because in the endless dark between galaxies, something ancient had opened its eyes and whispered a single word back, acknowledged.